So I'm gonna play a clip from David's session, or should I say episode today, where he was talking to two gentlemen and a young lady about whether it's dumb or not to rent versus buy in today's market. And the episode was fantastic, but it resonated with me because I can vouch for both sides. But in this specific episode, I side with the two young brothers. I think one of them is named Smitty. Can't remember the other gentleman's name. Although both sides has great points, this specific clip that I'm going to share and kind of dissect from my own personal opinion, I'm going to play that, and then I'm going to throw my comments in there as if I was on the seat or if I was on the panel. So let's play it a little bit.
Telling people the average income they can't afford to fix their heater if it goes out. At some point, we have to do something to better ourselves.
Yes.
And here's my position on real estate. How old are you?
33.
How old are you?
32.
33 and 32. I very rarely, ever hear someone over 40 say real estate is not something we get into. I see it from younger generation, typically someone who makes money online, because I'm that person. When I was talking to Terica, I'm like, you saying put this money up in real estate, and you know what I can do with these ads? You know what I can go make this money right now. She started breaking down some numbers. If there's a house that you buy for $300,000 today,
So this is the part I want to
appreciation
get
is
into.
about 3 to 5%, right? 4%.
So remember these numbers.
And you're saying, well, this front end interest, I got to pay all this interest, and it's just going to the bank. Well, in 30 years, that $300,000 house is worth $900,000.
So Dave just said something kind of blanket, and I get it for the time's sake of the podcast. He didn't go in depth, but 300,000 in 30 years is worth 900,000. That may or may not be true, depending on the market, depend on the value of the area, depend on the houses around it. So let's take his number, let's take his assumption, and say that it is worth 900,000 in 30 years. But that 300,000, there are some costs that go into that $300,000 purchase price. But let's keep going.
Because we think about the transaction we can make online, we are comparing that money to this right
Okay, wait
here.
though.
How
much did you pay in interest though? So it's worth 900,000. Can y'all
Okay.
explain that part to me though, so I can understand it? Because
all in interest, let's just double it. Say we paid
600.
$600,000.
So all in interest, you paid 600,000, but he still hasn't factored in how much was the down payment, how much was his maintenance, all that type of stuff that went on top of this to 600,000. So the 600,000 is just the amount that he's paying back to the bank in interest over those 30 years.
so now that it's worth 900,000, you do not. That's not your money. You paid it. Like you
Yes,
paid it
no,
in
no, no,
interest.
no, what I'm
Agree
saying
with
is,
Smitty.
in 30
Is that not
years,
right?
let's say the house is worth 900,000.
You paid $600,000 in
I
interest.
paid 600,000 in interest. Now I have 300,000 in equity. But what's
So what Dave is saying, you have $300,000 in equity at that 30-year mark, which is true. However, what he's not factoring in is that maintenance cost that you have over 30 years, repair costs, HVACs, hot water heaters, repairing roofing, flooring. You're not factoring in what they call phantom costs. Phantom costs are things that you pay every month, whether it's not gas, I'm saying grass, landscaping, things of that nature that go window repairs, anything that you're not factoring in that $300,000 equity. He's right that you have the $300,000 in the house as equity, but you have to factor in all the phantom costs that go into that you're spending monthly, yearly to take away from that you would have with buying a house.
happening here? Well, it's 900,000 in equity, but I'm up 300,000. The reason they didn't let black people invest.
The other thing too, before he goes into his next point, that $300,000, that's $300,000 that we're assuming today. $300,000 today, as we know, with inflation, taxes, all the extra, that $300,000 a day is not going to have the same buying power 30 years from now. So you guys can do the math. Pull out a calculator. There's a million of them on Google. What $300,000 today buying power would be 30 years from now in this house that you would have just in equity.
In real estate, they made it really, really difficult, is because they knew that in some years, when time goes by, we're going to be able to set up our family in some way. Whatever you made this month, whether it's digital, coaching, I do the same thing, you got to make it again next month. And I can't pass that down to my kids at all. So that's why we take some of the money and we make we gonna grind anyway. And there's no guarantee y'all make money in entrepreneurship, but most people don't. Large majority. It's a better investment for most people to take whatever that money is and put it into a house. And in a few years, you can, whether you're going to buy a duplex and you rent out one of them so you ain't got to pay rent, you got some flexibility. It's a better investment because most people are going to lose that money in entrepreneurship.
I
They're
agree.
going to quit and they're going to go back to the house that they rented. But at least at some point, there's a path. One day, I'm going to have some equity. I'm going to own something. I just think it's dangerous.
And the other thing that Dave is not factoring is most people in this generation, you're not staying, we're not like our parents. We're not buying our first house and we're staying in that same house for 30 years, even if it's $300,000. Unless it's just some dream house, and your dream house most likely won't cost $300,000 in today's market. You're not staying in this house for 30 years in this one area in this one city or town to pass down to your kids. And even if you do, there are going to be costs, maintenance, repairs, etc., that's going to go into this house that Dave is not considering. I wish I was on this episode. That way I can kind of side with Smitty and the other gentleman when it comes to the advantage of renting. Now, once again, I'm not against renting or buying. I can make an argument for both, but just on this one episode, I have to side with Smitty and them when it comes to if you don't have the right educational pieces, buying a primary house with the investment money that you've saved up to you and you want to consider your primary house an investment is not the way to go. And that's what Smitty was trying to say. Your primary house is not an investment when starting out. There's other things that you should take that down payment money on a $300,000 house and invest it in before you go out and consider it as an investment party to consider it making money. So I'm gonna let it play just a little bit longer, and I probably will be clipping up this session and this video more to share. But I'm hoping Dave see it so I can get on the seat because I definitely want to sit down and talk to him about it. And I did see Dave in Birmingham last week at a podcast summit tour, and we got a chance to talk about it a little bit. If you're on my page, you can scroll and see that video. And like I say, hopefully his content creator shares the full 7-minute segment of me and Dave's dialogue because it was a good dialogue. But I would love to get on his episode and talk about why I think, in agreement with Smitty and the other gentleman, that starting out renting is not a bad idea if you're trying to look at it from an investment standpoint.
And irresponsible to even start the narrative that we shouldn't buy real estate. And there was a reason that they told us we can't for a long time. It's just, for me, it's just irresponsible. But you all are looking at it from the transactional perspective, what I can do with the money right now. But you got to go make that money next month.
And I don't think our exit.
Let me say this. So
Yeah, so I'll stop the clip there. And like I said, I'll probably be clipping up more of the video in its full context, but just specifically in that piece when he's talking about the 300,000 in 30 years is worth 900,000. Once again, Dave is not factoring in what that $300,000 in equity will be at in 30 years from now, what that value would be. You still have to sell the house and get and recoup that cost. Is the more is the market? It's a lot of things that go into that factor of just having that $300,000 in equity in 30 years versus what you can do with that same down payment money. Put it into either a business, invest it in yourself, or either some type of other cash flowing vehicle. What that would return to you in 30 years if you consistently do it. So that's the type of things that I like to talk about and would want to talk about if I was on the episode with Dave and them. So stay tuned for the next video as I continue to break this down.